This video is to walk you through how to complete the ocean motion virtual lab that we were working in on class today. And you should see on my screen, I'm sharing with the lab sheet and the actual simulation. So hopefully if you were confused on how to complete this and how to fill in your uh, graph or your lab sheet, this video will clarify any confusion. You will need to have this lab sheet filled out and completed by Thursday's class because we will be using it and looking at it in class on Thursday. So the first thing that you need to do on your lab sheet is you need to record your location. So my location for this activity is Seaside Wharf. So I will type in my location of Seaside Wharf. And then I need to go ahead and select a moon phase. I'm going to end up doing all four for this lab, so it really doesn't matter which one I start with. So I'm going to go ahead and start with new moon. So my moon phase here will be new moon. And I can go ahead and look. You'll notice, similar to our class in talking about why the tides are present, this blue circle on the outside represents that bulge, showing where that high tide is. Okay, so the first thing we do, I've got my new moon selected. Now that I have that, is I'm going to click my hourglass timer. And this is we started at midnight, and it's going to run through time to give me my first tide. My first low tide is at 3:57 a.m. and it's reading at a measurement of negative 0.3 meters. So I am going to go negative 0.3 meters. And now I'm going to run my timer again. Okay. Every 6 hours, the tide changes. So you should notice, it may not be exact, but you should notice the difference between first tide, first low tide, and second tide is about 6 hours apart. Not exactly, but about. So my first high tide happened at 9:47 a.m. and it's reading at 2 meters. So I'm going to increase this, too far, to 2 meters. And I'm going to go again because we want to go through one entire tide cycle. So a full 24 hours. And again at 4:50 p.m. Now I'm at negative 0.3 for my low tide. And let's do one more cycle. And this time my high tide reads at 2.1 meters. I'm going to go ahead and check my results. Nothing is highlighted, which tells me that I had all my measurements correct. And now I can go ahead and transfer this data to my data table. So my first low tide, the time was at 3:57 a.m. and the height measured at negative 0.3 meters. My first high tide occurred at 9:47 a.m. with a height of 2.0 meters. My second low tide occurred at 4:50 p.m. with a height, again, of negative 0.3 meters. And my second high tide occurred at 10:11 p.m. with a measurement of 2.1 meters. So that is my data for the new moon phase at Seaside Wharf. If you are at a different location, chances are your measurements may look different, and that's okay. This video is meant to show you the process. The data could be very different. You may be working on Seaside Wharf, you did a new moon, and your measurements and times are still different. That's okay. This video is meant to show you the process. So now that I've recorded this data, I am going to now pick a different moon phase. So let's just say I want to go in order. And now I have first quarter. Okay, so again, on my data table, I'm going to write first quarter. And then I'm going to go through the same exact process until I have gone through all 4 phases identified on this chart or in this lab. Okay, hopefully this video and this walkthrough was helpful to you. If you are still having difficulty figuring out how to do this, that is okay. You can come to my office hours tomorrow at 2:30, from 2:30 to 3:15, and I would be more than happy to walk you through how to get this. Again, I hope this was helpful. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have any more questions.